What happens when one of country music's most beloved icons sits down for what should be a simple interview and everything goes completely sideways? Today we're breaking down the moment Reba McEntire had enough and walked off The View after a heated confrontation with Joy Behar that nobody saw coming. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me what you think about this whole situation. Now let's dive in. The energy in the studio that morning felt different from the start. Reba McEntire walked onto the View set with her usual grace, waving to the audience as they erupted in applause. She settled into her seat, and the panel of hosts greeted her warmly. Whoopi Goldberg kicked things off with a smile. "Reba, it is so good to have you here. You've been making music for decades. You've acted, you've done Broadway. What brings you to New York this time?" Reba leaned back comfortably. "Well, I'm actually here promoting my new album, but honestly, I'm just happy to be back in the city. I love it here." Sarah N. jumped in next. "The new album is fantastic. I've been listening to it all week. You've got this way of telling stories through your songs that just hits different. How do you choose which stories to tell?" "Thank you so much," Reba said. "You know, I've always believed that music is about connecting with people. I look for songs that speak to real experiences, real emotions, things people are going through in their everyday lives." The conversation flowed easily at first. Sunny Hostin asked about her tour plans, and Alyssa Farah Griffin brought up her acting career. Reba answered each question thoughtfully, sharing anecdotes that had the audience laughing. Then Joy Behar, who had been mostly quiet up until this point, shifted in her seat. "So Reba," Joy began, her tone changing slightly, "you've been in the entertainment industry for a long time. You've seen a lot of changes. What do you think about the state of country music today compared to when you started?" Reba smiled politely. "Country music has evolved, that's for sure. There are so many talented artists doing incredible things. I think there's room for everyone." Joy nodded, but pressed forward. "Right, but don't you think it's lost something? I mean, a lot of what passes for country music now sounds like pop music with a twang. Where's the authenticity?" There was a brief pause. Reba's smile remained, but her eyes sharpened just a touch. "Well, Joy, I think authenticity comes in many forms. Music evolves. It always has. That doesn't mean it's less authentic. It just means it's different." "But come on," Joy continued, leaning forward. "You can't tell me that some of these young artists today have the same depth, the same connection to the roots of country music that your generation had." Whoopi tried to interject. "Joy, I think what Reba is saying is," but Reba held up a hand gently. "No, it's okay, Whoopi. I can answer this." She turned back to Joy. "I think every generation brings something new to the table. Yes, the music sounds different, but that doesn't mean these young artists don't work hard or don't have something meaningful to say. They're speaking to their generation the same way I spoke to mine." Joy shrugged. "I just think there's a difference between evolution and selling out. And let's be honest, a lot of what we hear on country radio today is about selling records, not about making art." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Sarah tried to lighten the mood. "Well, I think Reba's new album shows you can do both. It's been getting amazing reviews." "Thank you, Sarah," Reba said, her voice still calm but with a slight edge now. "I appreciate that." Joy wasn't done. "Speaking of selling records, Reba, you've had a pretty successful career. You've made a lot of money. Do you ever feel like you have a responsibility to use your platform to speak out more on social issues?" Reba took a breath. "I think everyone has to decide for themselves how they want to use their platform. I've always believed my job is to entertain people, to give them something that brings them joy or helps them through tough times. But don't you think that's a bit of a cop-out?" Joy shot back. "I mean, you have millions of fans. You could really make a difference if you spoke up more about things that matter." "Joy," Reba said, her voice still measured, "I do speak up about things that matter to me. I just don't believe in lecturing people or telling them how to think. I respect my fans enough to let them make their own decisions." Joy laughed, but it wasn't a warm laugh. "That's convenient though, isn't it? You get to stay neutral, keep everyone happy, and not risk losing any fans." Now the tension in the room was palpable. Whoopi tried again. "Okay, let's maybe move on too." "No, I want to hear this," Joy interrupted. "I'm genuinely curious. Reba, what are you afraid of? Why not take a stand?" Reba's jaw tightened slightly, but her voice remained steady. "I'm not afraid of anything, Joy. I just don't think it's my place to tell people what to believe. I grew up in Oklahoma. I know what it's like to come from a place where people have different views, different experiences. I respect that. But some things aren't about different views," Joy countered. "Some things are just right and wrong. And who decides that?" Reba asked. The audience gasped quietly. Joy's eyebrows shot up. "Well, I think basic human decency decides that." "I agree," Reba said firmly, "and I live by that every single day. But I don't need to broadcast my every opinion to prove that I'm a good person." Joy leaned back, crossing her arms. "I just find it interesting that someone with your influence chooses to stay so quiet." Reba's voice dropped lower, more serious. "Joy, I'm not quiet. I'm selective. There's a difference. And frankly, I don't appreciate the implication that I'm somehow failing my fans by not performing activism the way you think I should. Sunny jumped in quickly. I think what's beautiful about Reba's music is that it does speak to important themes. Love, loss, resilience, without being preachy. That's an art form in itself. Thank you, Sunny, Reba said, her eyes still on Joy. But Joy wasn't backing down. I'm just saying, Reba, in times like these, silence can be complicity. Reba's hands gripped the armrests of her chair. Are you calling me complicit in something, Joy? I'm saying that people with platforms have responsibilities, Joy replied. And I take my responsibilities very seriously, Reba said, her voice rising slightly for the first time. I take care of my family. I support my community. I treat people with respect. I don't owe anyone a political manifesto to prove my worth. The studio fell silent except for a few audience members shifting in their seats. Alyssa tried to redirect. Reba, tell us about the tour. Where are you most excited to perform? But the damage was done. Reba's expression had changed. She looked at Joy, then at the other hosts, then out at the audience. Reba took a slow breath, visibly composing herself. She turned to Alyssa and forced a small smile. The tour is going to be wonderful. We're hitting cities I haven't been to in years, and I can't wait to see everyone. Whoopi jumped on the opportunity to move forward. That's great, and you're bringing some special guests on the road with you, right? Yes, Reba said, her voice returning to a more measured tone. We've got some incredible talent joining us. It's going to be a real celebration of country music, past and present. Joy, however, seemed determined to circle back. You know what I find fascinating, Reba? You say you respect different viewpoints, but country music has historically been pretty exclusive. How do you reconcile that with this idea of respecting everyone? Reba turned slowly to face Joy again. Excuse me, I'm just saying, Joy continued. Country music hasn't exactly been welcoming to everyone. It's been pretty white, pretty conservative. Don't you think that's a problem? Joy, Reba said, her voice tight. Country music is more diverse than you're giving it credit for. There are incredible Black artists, Latino artists, LGBTQ artists making country music right now. The genre is changing. But it took a long time to get there. Joy pressed. And a lot of that change came from people speaking up, not staying quiet. Reba's eyes flashed. I have never been quiet about supporting talented artists, regardless of who they are or where they come from. I've spent my career lifting up other people. Through music, Joy said. But what about using your voice for actual change? My music is my voice, Reba said, her volume increasing. It's how I connect with people. It's how I've made a difference in people's lives for 40 years. Sarah tried once more to intervene. And that's such an important point. Reba, music has this power to bring people together in ways that political speeches sometimes can't. Reba nodded gratefully at Sarah. Exactly, that's what I've always believed. When people come to my concerts, they're not thinking about what divides them. They're there together, sharing an experience. Joy waved a hand dismissively. That's all well and good, but it doesn't change laws. It doesn't protect people's rights. And you think arguing on a talk show does? Reba shot back. The audience gasped again, louder this time. Joy's face reddened slightly. I think having important conversations does. Yes? Then let's have an important conversation, Reba said, leaning forward. Let's talk about how you invited me here, supposedly to discuss my new album and my career. And instead, you spent the last 10 minutes questioning my character and my integrity. Whoopi raised both hands. Okay, everyone, let's just take a breath here. No, Whoopi, Reba said, not breaking eye contact with Joy. I want to finish this. Joy, you don't know me. You don't know what I do in my private life. You don't know the causes I support or the people I help. You've made a whole lot of assumptions based on the fact that I don't perform my values for the cameras. Joy crossed her arms. I'm just asking questions that I think a lot of people want answers to. No, Reba said sharply. You're making judgments disguised as questions. There's a difference, Sunny spoke up, her voice careful. I think both of you are coming from places of passion. Maybe we can find some common ground here. I'd love to find common ground, Reba said, still looking at Joy, but that requires respect, and I don't feel very respected right now. Joy uncrossed her arms and leaned forward. Reba, I have tremendous respect for your talent. I've enjoyed your music for years, but respect doesn't mean I can't ask tough questions. Tough questions are fine, Reba replied. Condescension is not. And Joy, you've been condescending to me since the moment you started talking about country music being less authentic now. As if I don't understand my own industry. As if I haven't lived and breathed this music my entire life. That's not what I meant, Joy said. Then, what did you mean? Reba challenged. Because it sure sounded like you were saying that what I do, what these young artists do, isn't real enough for you. Isn't meaningful enough. Joy shook her head. I was talking about the commercial side of the industry. No, you were talking about authenticity, Reba corrected, and then you moved on to questioning whether I'm doing enough with my platform, whether I'm brave enough to speak up, whether I'm complicit in things. Do you hear yourself? Alyssa tried to step in. I think maybe there's been some miscommunication here. I don't think there's been any miscommunication at all, Reba said. I think Joy has been pretty clear about what she thinks of me and how I choose to live my life. Joy's voice rose. That's not fair, Reba. I'm asking the same questions I'd ask any public figure. Really? Reba challenged. Do you grill every guest about their political activism? Do you tell every artist who comes on this show that they're not doing enough? When it's relevant, yes, Joy said. And you decided it was relevant with me because why? Reba asked. Because I'm from Oklahoma? Because I sing country music? What exactly about me made you think I needed this lecture? The studio was dead silent now. Even the audience seemed to be holding their breath. Whoopi looked between the two women, clearly trying to figure out how to de-escalate. Joy's face was flushed now. I don't appreciate being characterized as giving you a lecture. Then what would you call it? Reba asked. You've questioned my authenticity, my bravery, my sense of responsibility. You've implied I'm complicit in problems because I don't speak up the way you think I should. If that's not a lecture, I don't know what is. Sarah jumped in, her voice gentle. Maybe we can all acknowledge that there are different ways to make a difference in the world. Reba's way is through her music and her example. That's valid. Of course it's valid, Joy said quickly. I never said it wasn't. Reba laughed, but there was no humor in it. You absolutely did say it wasn't. Maybe not in those exact words, but that was the message. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Reba wasn't finished. You know what, Joy? I came here today excited to talk about my music, excited to connect with your audience. But instead, I've been put on trial for not being the kind of person you think I should be. And I'm done with it. Whoopi's eyes widened. Reba, let's not. No, Whoopi, I appreciate you trying to keep the peace. I really do, Reba said, her voice firm, but not angry now, just resolute. But this isn't the conversation I signed up for. I don't mind tough interviews, I've done plenty of them. But there's a difference between a tough interview and a personal attack. I didn't attack you, Joy protested. You questioned everything about who I am and what I stand for. Reba said. You just did it with a smile. The tension was suffocating. Sunny tried once more. Why don't we take a quick break and come back to? But Reba was already standing up, carefully removing her microphone. The audience murmured in shock. Whoopi stood too. Reba, please, let's talk about this. Reba's expression softened when she looked at Whoopi. I have nothing but respect for you and this show, Whoopi, but I'm not going to sit here and be made to feel small for living my life according to my own values. She placed the microphone gently on her chair and looked at the other hosts. Sarah, Sunny, Alyssa, thank you for being kind. I appreciate you trying to steer this in a better direction. Then she turned to Joy. The entire studio seemed to lean forward. Joy, I hope one day you realize that not everyone who disagrees with you or chooses a different path is wrong. Some of us just see the world differently, and that's okay. Joy stood up too, her voice rising. Reba, you're being incredibly dramatic right now. Reba's eyes narrowed. Am I, or am I just refusing to sit here and take it anymore? Take what? Joy asked, throwing her hands up. I asked you some questions. That's what we do here. No, Reba said, her voice cutting through the space between them. You didn't ask questions. You made accusations. You told me I was taking the easy way out. You told me I was afraid. You suggested I was complicit in things you didn't even name. That's not journalism, Joy. That's judgment. Whoopi stepped closer. Ladies, please. We can work this out. Reba shook her head slowly. There's nothing to work out, Whoopi. I just need to leave before I say something I'll regret. Joy's voice dripped with sarcasm. Oh, so now you're worried about what you say. That's rich. Reba's head snapped toward Joy. What is that supposed to mean? It means you've spent this whole conversation acting like you're above having opinions. But clearly you have plenty of them, Joy said. You just don't want to deal with the consequences of sharing them publicly. Or maybe, Reba said, her voice dangerously quiet. I just don't think my opinions are more important than anyone else's. Maybe I think people are smart enough to figure things out for themselves without me telling them what to think. Joy laughed sharply. That's a convenient philosophy when you're trying to sell albums to everyone. The audience gasped audibly. Several people booed. Reba's face went pale, then flushed red. Did you really just say that to me? Sarah stood up now too. Joy, come on. That was out of line. Was it? Joy said, looking around. I'm just being honest. Reba wants to play both sides. She wants to be beloved by everyone without ever risking anything. Reba took a step toward the table. You don't know a single thing about what I've risked in my life. Not one thing. Then tell us, Joy challenged. Tell us what you really think about things that matter. Stop hiding behind this folksy, everyone gets along act and be real. I am being real, Reba said, her voice shaking now with emotion. This is who I am. I'm someone who believes in treating people with kindness. I'm someone who thinks you can disagree without being disagreeable. I'm someone who doesn't think shouting your opinions at people is the same thing as making a difference. Joy pointed at her. See, there it is. You do have strong opinions. You're just scared to own them. I'm not scared of anything, Reba said, her voice rising. What I am is tired. Tired of people like you acting like the only way to be a good person is to perform your politics like a circus act. Tired of being told I'm not enough because I choose to live my values quietly instead of shouting them from the rooftops. Whoopi put a hand on Reba's arm. Reba, I understand you're upset, but let's sit down and talk this through. Reba gently pulled her arm away. Whoopi, you're a class act, and I've always admired you. But I can't stay here. I won't be disrespected like this. Joy threw her hands up. Oh my God, you're really going to walk off? You're really going to do this? Yes, Reba said simply. I am. That's so unprofessional. Joy said. Reba turned to face her fully one last time. You know what's unprofessional, Joy? Inviting someone onto your show under the pretense of promoting their work and then ambushing them with personal attacks. That's unprofessional. I'm just protecting my peace. Joy stepped closer to the table. I didn't ambush you. I asked legitimate questions. You attacked my character, Reba said firmly. Over and over again, and when I defended myself, you mocked me for it. You can call that whatever you want, but I know what it was. Sunny spoke softly. Reba, we would love for you to stay. I think we can still have a great conversation. Reba smiled sadly at Sunny. You're sweet, honey, but the conversation I came here to have isn't going to happen now. This whole thing has turned into something else entirely. Alyssa nodded sympathetically. I understand. For what it's worth, I think you've handled this with a lot of grace. Thank you, Reba said quietly. Joy scoffed. Grace, she's walking off our show. Reba's eyes went back to Joy. And you've given me every reason to. You came at me from the moment we started talking about country music. You've been condescending, dismissive, and honestly pretty mean. I don't have to sit here and take that from anyone. I don't care what show this is. So you're just going to run away? Joy challenged. I'm not running, Reba said, her voice steady as steel now. I'm making a choice. The same way I make choices every day about how I want to live my life and use my voice. And right now, I'm choosing not to be part of this anymore. Joy shook her head. This is unbelievable. What's unbelievable, Reba said, is that you still don't see what you did here. You don't see how you treated me, and that tells me everything I need to know. Whoopi tried one more time. Reba, please, let's go to commercial. Take a breath, and start fresh. Reba looked at Whoopi with genuine affection and regret. I wish I could, Whoopi, I really do. But my mama taught me a long time ago that you don't let people make you feel less than you are. And staying here, continuing this, that's what it would do. She picked up her purse from beside the chair. The audience was completely silent, watching this unfold in real time. A few people had their phones out, clearly recording. Joy's voice cut through the quiet. You know what, Reba? Maybe this is exactly who you are. Someone who can't handle being challenged. Reba stopped walking and turned around one final time. Joy, you didn't challenge me. You belittled me. There's a difference. And the fact that you can't see that difference is exactly why I need to leave. She looked out at the audience. I'm sorry you all had to witness this. I came here today with nothing but good intentions. I hope you'll still check out the new album. It comes from my heart, just like everything I do. Then she walked toward the exit. Whoopi called after her. Reba, wait. But Reba kept walking, her head held high, her pace steady and determined. Joy called out, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Real mature, Reba, real mature. Reba paused at the edge of the set, just for a second, without turning around. Maturity is knowing when to walk away. Joy, maybe you should try it sometime. And with that, she was gone. The audience erupted in a mix of gasps, scattered applause, and shocked murmurs. The camera caught Joy's face, red and angry. Whoopi sat back down heavily, shaking her head. Sarah and Sunny exchanged looks of disbelief. Alyssa stared at the spot where Reba had been standing. Joy sat down and crossed her arms. Well, that was something. Whoopi turned to her. Joy, that was not okay. What? Joy said defensively. I was just doing my job. Your job isn't to drive guests off the show, Whoopi said, her voice firm. We're supposed to have conversations, not interrogations. Sarah nodded. She came here to talk about her music. Joy, that's what we told her this would be about. Joy waved him off. Oh, come on. She's a public figure. She should be able to handle tough questions. Sunny spoke up, her voice measured but pointed. There's a difference between tough questions and what you did. You questioned her integrity, her values, her authenticity. That wasn't an interview. It was an attack. I disagree, Joy said stubbornly. I think she was just uncomfortable being pushed. Alyssa shook her head. Joy, I watched the whole thing. Reba tried to answer you respectfully multiple times. You kept pushing and pushing until she had no choice but to defend herself. And then you mocked her for that too. The studio audience was buzzing now. Some people clearly upset, others seemingly energized by the drama. Whoopi looked directly into the camera. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll try to make sense of what just happened here. The show cut to commercial, but the damage was done. Within minutes, clips of the confrontation were already spreading across social media. People were taking sides, debating who was right and who was wrong. Reba's fans were outraged. Joy's supporters defended her right to ask hard questions. The entertainment world was buzzing. So there you have it. One of the most dramatic moments in talk show history. Reba McEntire, a woman known for her professionalism and grace, felt so disrespected that she walked off The View in the middle of a live taping. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below. Do you think Reba was right to walk off, or should she have stayed and finished the interview?